How impressive has Jaylen Brown been as the Celtics' #1 option?
Can Brown be the #1 on a title contender, Jaylen Brown?
Let me say this to y'all. He can be, but he doesn't deserve that distinction.
LeBron James signing with the Philadelphia 76ers did not end the Jaylen Brown discussion. In fact, it only exposed what's wrong with the Jaylen Brown discussion and generally what's wrong with the way we evaluate NBA stars or superstars in general. It always feels like everyone is looking for the star or the best player on the team to be an unquestioned #1, to be a player that can take a team to the championships on their heroics alone. And now that Jaylen Brown is playing besides LeBron James, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey, I think this roster is about to prove my point in a serious way. Because today, it's not just about collecting a bunch of stars and trying to make it all mash together. It's about collecting players that fit. But it feels like they're still evaluating stars with a blueprint that doesn't exist anymore. And that's why this little experiment is much more important than just the Philadelphia 76ers future. Now, I think it's important before we dive into this conversation to take a look at what Philadelphia is building right now, because it's super interesting and I don't think they're getting enough credit for this crazy offseason they're pulling off. Now, on the surface, you might be one of those basketball fans that go, "Oh, LeBron, he's building another super team. Look at him trying to go run to Philadelphia and ring chase." But really, if you really look at it, you can't call this a super team, or at least I wouldn't call this a super team. I think calling it a super team misses what truly makes this roster build unique and makes it interesting, because if you want to be real, every player is going to have a unique function on this team. And when you think back to any basketball team that's really had major success, even if we as the fans don't see each person's role on the team, I guarantee you every player from 1 through 5 had a role that made that offense or defense work on the team, and that's why they were out there. So with this Philadelphia team, we got each player that would have a basic function. We have Tyrese Maxey, who brings the speed, shooting, and perimeter creation when it comes to offense, and he's a pretty damn good defender too when he's on. And he's a great transition player. Embiid, we know what Embiid does if he can stay healthy. Interior scoring, has a great gravity about him when he's on the court, and he's just a bully out there on both sides of the ball. So you definitely want to have a healthy Embiid. It's a pretty terrifying proposition when you have someone like LeBron who's going to organize the guys, always make sure they're doing the right next thing, making the right next play. That's just who LeBron James is. I feel like he knows basketball really well too, so we can kind of hone up a lot of flaws in other players' games, and he's just basically like a coach on the court. Super great addition to the team. Then you got Jaylen Brown, a dog on offense and defense, fresh off of being traded to his division rival with a chip on his shoulder. Very physical two-way wing that can really do everything, and he can be a secondary playmaker when LeBron's not on the floor, and he can get to the rim, create rim pressure, man. And you still have VJ Edgecombe, man, who's just getting better and better every time you see him. His three-point shot could develop more. He's going to be super dangerous. He's super athletic, super upside, and with all these superstars on the team, VJ Edgecombe is going to be able to stay the course and develop and go off in spots, and man, they're looking scary. They all have a function on the court to where it's not clogging itself up. It's not like Luka Doncic and LeBron on the Lakers where there's so much of the same thing going on. That's what's different about this, and that's why I don't think it's really a super team. It's not. Notice in my evaluation, I did not ask the question, who's the #1? Because I feel like in the NBA conversation these days, we have become hyper-focused on #1 option. And right now, the way fans and the media talk about superstar players, it's almost always, can they bring the team to the championship by themselves? Are they a bus rider or a bus driver? Things like that. And you got role players leapfrogging, all-time greats because of ring counts. For me, those rankings and those labels are always funny because they never really discuss role, basketball fit, teammate quality, coaching, roster, infrastructure of the organization, and how hard they try to put their players in the best position. It's just whether this player can win a championship or not these days. And I know that's not everyone, but it's a discussion that really dominates the NBA circles, and I think it's the wrong way to look at a 5-man sport, because at the end of the day, no one person can win by themselves. It's like we become so focused on stars, ranking them, dissecting them, and trying to see where they stack up instead of actually understanding who they are, what they do, and how they fit on a basketball team, which is really the only way to win. And trust me, I'm not saying that we need to understand stars better to sound cool or sound deep or anything like that. The fact of the matter is that new CBA is coming for all the GMs and all the team owners, and it's going to make them act right. So the salary cap for 2026, the first and second apron numbers, I'll pop all these numbers on the screen actually instead of saying them out to you, because these are some incomprehensible numbers right here. And basically, if you get into these aprons, the first and second apron, it starts getting harder to combine salaries in the trade. It makes it harder to use your mid-level exceptions and those type of little roster tricks to get savvy veterans and the glue guys for your team. You get potential consequences involving your future draft flexibility and draft capital and stuff like that. Teams don't want to do that. Also, it could result in the owner having to pay a lot of money, and owners typically don't like doing that. Some owners don't care, try to spend as much money as they can, but typically, why make it more expensive for yourself when you don't know if it's going to work out for sure. That being said, the new CBA does not make getting star players less important. Teams are still going to go hard to get stars. It just makes it more expensive if you get it wrong. So that's why I kind of like it, because teams don't have the luxury just to grab 4 random superstar names and try to throw them together on a team anymore. Now they have to sit down, look at the basketball angle, and evaluate whether these players fit together well enough to justify what it's going to cost to keep them on the roster long term. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comments if you are a big fan of this new CBA, or do you want to go back to the good old days of the Golden State Warriors? No, I'm just kidding. Now that we have established the problem with the way NBA stars are being evaluated, let's narrow this down to that Jaylen Brown conversation I was saying we'd get to earlier, because Jaylen's one of my favorite players, and honestly, he's the perfect example of this misinterpretation. So the way we always see Jaylen Brown talked about is, can he lead his own team? Is he a true number one? Can he be an elite organizer of an offense for a whole season? Is he worth that all-star level maximum money? And, that's fair questions all around, but it shouldn't be the only discussion we're having about a player like Jaylen Brown, because truly there's a lot more to him than just, is he a number one? A lot of things that make Jaylen Brown super great. He's a foxhole guy. You can tell that he will go to bat and put the whole team on his back if he can, if he needs to do anything for the team to win. He's also good off the ball, too. He can be good with the ball. He can be good off the ball and be a great number 2. He's just very versatile, and I really like his mentality when it comes to playing basketball and just in general. With that being said, he's not the guy that you want initiating your offense every time down the court, not even really most times down the court. The ball handling can become kind of shaky under pressure. When asked to create everything and do everything for the team, I think that's unfair to ask of Jaylen Brown. I just think he's the type of player that there's a sweet spot with him, and if you ask him to do too much, then you're not going to get the best return for Jaylen Brown, which is why this Philadelphia team is so perfect for him, and I'm excited to see what it actually looks like when they start getting it all synced up on the basketball court. And, let's be honest, the man does have obvious limitations, and some limitations I probably don't know. I'm not a basketball savant, but those limitations really don't matter if the other guys in Philadelphia play to their strengths, because they kind of all balance each other out in kind of a cool way. So, exciting! I know I mentioned the CBA earlier, and this is why the CBA matters, because Philly is committing a large amount of roster value to a small amount of players. And if it doesn't work, it's going to be bad. I think it's a good investment if the stars don't all do the same thing, which in this case, I don't think that's the case. I think everybody has a particularly clear role, and they have the particular skill sets to help each other instead of it being a mess. Obviously, we'll never know any of that until they get on the court and they try to play games, and we see what it looks like for real. But for right now, I'm looking at it like bon appetit. So I think for NBA teams going forward, the question isn't going to be how many stars you can afford. It's going to be how much can these stars do to make it worth getting them on the team. Now, if you're thinking that this is going to be a video just glazing Jaylen Brown and the 76ers, So let's talk about why this could still go horribly and blow up in everybody's faces. First, let's cover Embiid, his health. Embiid rarely ever plays 65 games. So if Embiid can't stay healthy, then I think this thing just melts down at the core. Embiid is, in my opinion, the core of this team. If you're going to keep him, you put him out there on the floor. His center of gravity is just too huge. And I think that once you get playing in a style that revolves around him, and then he's out for a long stretch, you have to redefine who the team is. And I don't know if that really works when you're trying to win a championship. Of course, we have LeBron James, who is in his 40s, is already thinking about retirement. I follow the words of the great Dana White. When you start thinking about retirement, it's time to retire. But for LeBron, he's definitely like on some Tom Brady-ish. He's an anomaly, so I don't think that applies to LeBron. Is it going to be the same LeBron that we're accustomed to? I think he will, but with his age and how much he's played, you got to at least take that into account. Also, Brown is adjusting to a new city, a new team, a city that really hated him a lot, actually. Who knows how Jaylen Brown's going to adjust and how to play. Again, I think, personally, it'll be fine. But who knows? We don't know any of this stuff until these people take the court. What if they get in the locker room and hate each other? The bench depth is kind of shaky. They do have good shooters on there, like I just mentioned. But outside of that, that's something that could really expose this team in the future. Maybe they go deep in the playoffs or something like that. And does this team have the flexibility to survive a LeBron injury? Does this team have the flexibility to survive a Joel Embiid injury? That's really the main question, and I'm sure we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, this could go horribly, this could fail. This is not an 100% slam dunk, and I'm sure nobody thought it was. I can't wait to see what this roster proves for NBA teams going forward. It can really change the way we evaluate stars, and it can really change the way other teams build for the future. Or it can show that this type of star building stuff is outdated, and you need to start going the OKC route to draft your players and develop them in-house. Even if they don't win, though, it really does give us a better framework for evaluating stars. Certainly better than just saying, can this player take us to a championship, or can this player win a championship by themselves? Because that's just an unrealistic standard to judge people by. I think in this way it'll be more like, hey, can this player do X, Y, and Z for us? Because the players we already have can do A, B, and C. And that's kind of a better way to build a basketball team. And this will change the evaluation to what the player's actual function is. Instead of saying LeBron needs to score 30 a night, Brown needs to take a team to the championship by himself. We don't want to put impossible expectations on everybody. And the value isn't reduced from player to player because they all have a clear, defined role and they share that burden. I think I like that much better. LeBron James joining Philadelphia did not end the Jaylen Brown conversation. But what it did was give us the correct version of the question to ask. I don't think Jaylen Brown was ever meant to become LeBron James, take a championship team by himself to the promised land. The real question is whether a team can take Jaylen Brown and put him in a situation where he can be the best Jaylen Brown, play to his strengths, and really not be defined by his limitations. And under this new CBA that punishes these expensive, redundant teams, Philadelphia's gamble is not hoping that it has enough star players on the team, but it's that those stars complement each other in a way that leads them to a championship. So all in all, maybe the answer we had about Jaylen Brown was wrong. Or maybe we were just evaluating him with the wrong question.